Pam Bondi stood at the podium, her eyes scanning the crowd, and with a sharp tone, she began to lay out what she claimed was a secret arrangement involving Judge Boasberg. The room, filled with media, attorneys, and political observers, quieted instantly. Her words carried weight not just because of her credentials, but because of what she was about to reveal. She said Judge Boasberg had quietly approved a classified document release that went unnoticed by the press. According to Bondi, this move allowed selective leaks to benefit one political narrative while suppressing evidence that could have exonerated key individuals. Murmurs began to ripple through the courtroom as people started realizing the magnitude. Bondi didn't mince words. She alleged this wasn't just judicial discretion, it was judicial interference. "We're not just talking about bias," she said firmly, "we're talking about manipulating the legal process from the bench." The silence deepened, cameras rolling, not a pen scratching. Every eye stayed on her, waiting for more. The former Florida Attorney General pulled out documents, waving a set of sealed case files. "These," she said, "were kept from defense attorneys under the pretense of national security but somehow found their way into a major media outlet last fall." The audience gasped. These weren't allegations anymore. They were accusations with evidence. Pam's tone was calm but blistering. She said Boasberg had used procedural tools to shield political allies. "When a judge becomes a gatekeeper of truth for partisan purposes," she said, "justice dies." One of the reporters in the front row dropped their notepad in disbelief. This wasn't what anyone expected to hear today. She went further, claiming Boasberg held private meetings with Dodge officials outside of official hearings. "It's not just unethical," Bondi stated, "it's illegal." Gasps turned into whispers. The term for such actions was ex parte communication, a serious breach of judicial conduct. Bondi emphasized this wasn't about politics. "This is about trust," she said. "The judiciary is our last line of defense, and if that line is compromised, everything falls." Her voice trembled slightly with emotion, but her gaze remained still locked on the audience. She presented email logs, calendar entries, and whistleblower testimony suggesting Boasberg had made rulings with prior knowledge of upcoming investigations, often siding in ways that would protect favored institutions. "This was orchestration," she said, "not coincidence." As she flipped through the evidence, Bondi also claimed that other judges had raised concerns about Boasberg's handling of sensitive matters but were silenced. They were warned to stay quiet or face consequences. A hush blanketed the room again as even Boasberg's defenders sat frozen. Pam's voice grew stronger with each word. "What I'm showing you isn't fiction," she said. "It's systemic, documented, and it's devastating." She explained how multiple defendants in recent high-profile cases had their discovery rights blocked due to Boasberg's decisions. Then she made the room shake figuratively by accusing Boasberg of colluding with intelligence agencies to prevent documents from reaching congressional oversight committees. "That's not judicial duty," she thundered. "That's obstruction." Audible gasps turned into murmurs of disbelief. Bondi said some of the sealed documents contained exculpatory evidence that could have changed the outcome of several investigations. "This isn't about what's hidden up, it's about what was denied," she declared. Her voice echoed through the wood-paneled chamber. She questioned how Boasberg continued to preside over FISA applications with no independent oversight. "He's unchecked," she warned, "and unchecked power is the most dangerous kind." Journalists were now live tweeting her every word. The story was exploding beyond the courtroom. Pam said the FISA court had become a rubber stamp under Boasberg, approving surveillance with little scrutiny. "This isn't national security," she said. "It's weaponized privacy invasion." A few in the crowd nodded, visibly shaken by the implications. Bondi described how whistleblowers inside federal agencies were increasingly afraid to come forward because Boasberg's court allowed those agencies to mask their misconduct behind sealed proceedings. "Truth can't breathe in shadows," she added, her voice unwavering. She cited specific rulings where Boasberg had denied requests for transparency or rulings that kept damning information about the legal data collection under wraps. "Transparency isn't optional," Bondi said, "It's a pillar of democratic justice." Her presentation was relentless. Bondi showed communications between journalists and legal teams where Boasberg's rulings were timed with specific media narratives. "This isn't judicial independence," she said. "It's narrative management." She demanded an immediate ethics investigation into Boasberg's conduct, calling on the Judicial Conduct Committee to take up the case. "The public deserves answers," she insisted. "We can't have secret deals in a courtroom that's supposed to protect rights." Pam then turned to the cameras. "This is bigger than any one judge," she said. "If we allow this to happen in silence, then we've surrendered our constitution to convenience." Her words hit like thunder. Nobody dared interrupt her. She emphasized that judicial accountability was non-negotiable. "No one is above the law, not even the ones who interpret it." As her voice rang out, the room felt electric, charged with disbelief and a hunger for truth. Boasberg's name was now a national conversation. Bondi's briefing concluded with a direct appeal to Americans. "Do not let complexity bury justice," she said. "Ask questions, demand answers, and never tolerate secrecy where there should be scrutiny." Her voice carried resolve that could shake even institutions. As she stepped away from the podium, reporters scrambled to get questions in. Bondi paused only to say, "Everything I showed you is verifiable. Now it's your turn to investigate." And just like that, she exited the room, leaving behind a storm that would only grow. The following day, headlines were ablaze. "Bondi exposes Boasberg," read one. Social media exploded with clips of her presentation, while others began digging into past rulings by Boasberg with renewed interest. The judiciary's secrecy veil had been torn. As journalists followed up on Bondi's claims, a wave of legal experts weighed in, some defending Boasberg, others alarmed. The public was now divided, but undeniably engaged. The question wasn't if something was wrong, it was how deep the rot went. Politicians began issuing statements. Some demanded Boasberg recuse himself from future FISA rulings. Others called Bondi reckless, but few could deny the impact her words had. A secret deal, once whispered, had now been thrust into the national spotlight. As investigations loomed, Bondi continued to release documents through trusted legal channels. She said this wasn't just a moment, it was a movement to reclaim judicial integrity. Each new release added fuel to a fire that was no longer easy to contain. Meanwhile, Judge Boasberg issued a brief statement denying the allegations and asserting his commitment to impartial justice. But the statement did little to silence the noise. Public opinion had shifted, and scrutiny was now his daily companion. In the end, Bondi had done more than expose a deal, she had challenged an entire system. Whether her claims would lead to action remained uncertain, but one thing was clear: silence was no longer an option. The room that once sat still was now a battlefield for truth.